Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another thrilling video from Nothing Venture, Nothing Game. As always, I'm your host with the most, your GM Jared. Joining me today is the ever resourceful Tina.
Hi.
The creative powerhouse Zach.
Hello.
And watching over us all, the guardian of the game's sanctity, our Rules Arbiter Steve.
Yep.
Voice of God.
Yes.
The voice of God returns.
Today, we're diving into Daggerheart by Darrington Press and Critical Role, and we're going to be going over character creation with Tina and Zach. Obviously, I'm here to just support and kind of keep things moving, and so is Steve. So, Tina and Zach, have both of you looked into character creation or any of the rules?
Nope.
No.
They're gonna change, and the way it works with me is the second I learn a set of rules, they change anyway. So, yeah.
He has avoided it like
no
the plague.
point learning them until they're final.
So what Tina needs to do is master all but the one class she actually wants to play, and that class will never change.
Exactly.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Perfect. So, if you haven't heard, Daggerheart is created by Darrington Press. It was a working project by a lot of people from Critical Role, Matt Mercer, and it's supposed to be their long-form version of a tabletop role-playing game, where the opposite of like more of a one or two shot is Candle Obscura. This is their long-form game with multiple levels going on for many, many days, weeks, months, years. So, starting off, we're going to be using the Demiplane system to show everyone what's going on. Normally, we like to play together. We have that ability to play together. So we would be doing this at a table with dice and stuff. But so we just decided to do it online. So I'm in my house. Everyone you could see is in different locations. Or secretly, this is a studio that we've made to look like multiple different rooms.
I'm secretly in Zach's house right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're in the haunted basement room, the haunted doll room right behind me.
It's like one of the.
I actually have my gaming books over here.
Nice.
Yeah,
See,
you're there. Jared's in the bathroom right there, and
Yeah.
Steve's in the boiler room over there.
See?
Yeah.
We're all in the same place.
You don't know. We're masters of illusion here at Nothing Venture, Nothing Game. But with that said, so we're gonna build characters, right? And character creation, I looked it over with Steve. We did our general conversation about Daggerheart early on, and I want to see how easy it is to teach new players. Like, if I was to go to a con, could I sit down with new players and make characters right there, or is this something you should just have pre-gens? Or if you're looking to start with new players, is this something it's easy for everyone to get at the table all at the same time, or you should do like maybe one-on-one kind of sessions, which I kind of find with 5th edition, obviously not comparing the two because this is a much different system, but like with games like Pathfinder and 5th edition, it's easier to do a more one-on-one session to build a character with a new player than it is to do like a collective. Now that we've played lots of games, we're kind of like, we know what we're doing. We sit down and just yell at each other and figure it out as we go.
Yeah, like I remember my first ever TTRPG. We just sat down there in the comic book store and we quickly made my little halfling paladin before we started playing, and that was just, I don't know, it took a couple of minutes and then we were done, and
Yeah.
That was it. And you don't really need to know all the ins and outs and what this character is going to do at level 5. It was very quick and easy to assemble a character. So I like how that works, and we'll see how that works with the system.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope everyone out there is excited. So let's kind of dive into this. It shouldn't take us more than maybe 10-15 minutes. So let's see how long it takes.
Translation: 2.5 hours.
2 hours later.
Wonderful. So we're gonna look over the Tina's. So Tina has chosen the name Lola because that's a great name.
That would fit any class, so we're just gonna go with that.
Yeah, it's a Bob and Lola. It just works. Just works. You don't need to get
Lola.
You're saying that Lola is the female version of Bob? There's a Planet Lola out there?
There's 100% of Planet Lola.
Space Jam, okay? You got bugs, you got Lola.
There you go.
The generic female. Shout out to anybody watching. His name is Lola.
Yeah, what up, Lola? Or Bob.
What's up, Lola?
And Tina went with the she, her pronouns. So awesome. So skipping off of that, we're going to go to heritage. And heritage is if you're coming from a different system, let's say D&D 5th edition, ancestry is your race and community is your background. That's the best way to look at it. So we choose our ancestry. Cool. Daggerheart has a ton of really cool ancestries.
I absolutely love some of the names for this stuff. So let me just highlight a couple of names that I think are really cool and are really obvious of what they
hold
are.
on.
Wow,
Here we go.
cool.
So switching to Zax.
There are the Katari. The Katari. They're the cat people. I love that. The Ribbit. Those are the frog people. Galapa. Like Galapagos turtles. You got the turtle people.
You know what? I didn't even make that connection. Thank you, Zach.
It's like,
I was like, that's a weird one for a turtle.
No, I was just like, it took me a second to kind of, and then Simia, like,
the simian,
monkey.
Because they're
simian, yeah.
And then the clanks are the robots, the robots.
Yeah, I was just like, this is really, honestly, this is these names are really cool.
I'm not pushing anything, but
I'm gonna pick a frog.
We could do a Ratchet and Clank kind of thing. Zach could play Clank, and Tina could play the cat person. We could do a Ratchet and Clank.
So is there a size difference? Because I noticed that fairy is an ancestry. Is that like?
I honestly think that you just get what's on the card.
Okay.
It's just what the card says. This is the difference where it's not. There's less about your ancestry than in other systems. It's just what you. I'm going to switch back to Tina since she's looking at that. I think it's just what's on the card.
Okay.
Oh, I am.
And then everything else is just like what you roll, like your description of your characters. If you want to be like a smaller character, I don't think there's any statistical benefit or detriment for being a slightly smaller, slightly larger character. I don't believe.
I saw Fun Girl and I just thought Fun Girl for a second. I read
Honestly, that's what I saw the first time I read it too. So what are
Lola's just a fun girl.
So Tina, I can cross one off the list for you. I might actually be taking Clank.
Yes.
I am gonna take Clank. I have a funny idea because I watched the movie last night and I'm gonna have some fun.
So okay, go ahead.
You guys know my name at the end of it.
Just so everyone's aware out there, on Demiplane you just select and normally you would have to have these cards. Now it's a playtest, so you would have to have them printed out at home, and the player playing the Clank ancestry would take that card. This led into a conversation that I had with Steve where I'm concerned because let's say we play with a large group. We're lucky we have lots of friends. We get to play with a large group. Let's say there are two people who want to play elves. I would have to double print elf cards, or they would have to share at the table.
Yeah, either that, or at some point, most likely there's going to be a set of cards that you can purchase, and it might be just the responsibility of each player, just like buying a player's handbook. You might have to buy your own set of cards, and so that's why I was actually going to mention, because when Zach said, "Hey Tina, I want you to cross one off the list," it doesn't mean you can't play the same race. It's just we want to show you a variety at home so you can see more. No, I just wanted to clarify.
No, it 100% does. Don't do
it. But the if you do download the playtest, on the character sheets themselves, obviously character sheet is class specific. The later pages are the cards, and they all come with the ancestry and the community cards as well as their classes cards. So you can both play similar ancestries and all that stuff just by printing out your character sheet. It comes with the card.
What I do appreciate, though, even though there are a lot of choices for an ancestry, you're not, at least with the way the information is presented here, is that you're not overwhelmed with information. It's like you're basically given like one cool thing that this ancestry can do. So it's either you want that thing or you don't. So it's not like you have like pages and pages. I mean, which eventually when you do pick what you want to do and you want to learn more about them, that's an option. But when you're just getting started, it's just here's a thing that you can do with this ancestry to build off of. So we're moving on to choose a community.
All right.
Which ancestor did you pick?
I'm a Hatari.
Oh, okay.
Kitty cat person.
Yeah.
You want to go back to Zach? Zach, you want to pick your community?
Yeah, sure. I was kind of going through these. They're very cool. I have to say, I like the idea that they're called it's something born, which just kind of notes like an adjective describing what it's about. So like highborn, you're like a noble. Loreborn, it's about being like an academic or something. Seaborn, you grew up near water, you know. Underborn, you grew up in like subterranean society. I thought that was pretty cool. Wildborn, you grew up in the forest and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff. That's not all of it, but I think that is really fun. I have been looking at, I'm stuck between two, Slyborn and Wanderborn.
Roll for it. Hi is Slyborn.
I was also considering Highborn because
You're poor in every other game.
yeah, because I'm poor in every other game, essentially.
It tracks. It tracks.
Yeah, and also the character concept I was going for was that I am a creation of a well-renowned inventor.
Ooh.
So I'm
Just to let you know, in this game, if you're highborn, you're so generous, you've given up all your money.
No,
Is it really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with him. He's not. Zach's not allowed to have money in games.
I'm not allowed to have money in games. That's just what it is.
I believe.
But
I believed you.
The Wanderborn also kind of made me think, well, I could still go with that, but it just means that I'm kind of always prepared in a way. Wanderborn kind of has this thing where you can pull out a bunch of common items at random time, like once per session, to like have like it's a random item you just pull out of your bag. I might actually go Highborn then.
Yeah.
I think
Alright.
that's an interesting pick for a robot.
He's a rich robot.
Rich robot.
He's gilded in gold.
Oh, I like that.
It's wood inlaid with gold, actually.
Oh,
Ooh.
all right, Tina, have you made your decision?
I think so.
What are we looking at, Tina?
What you doing?
To no one's surprise, Wildborn.
Oh, nice,
Nice.
Lola. The wild one.
Yay!
Well, I figure I'm still not entirely sure what class yet because we haven't looked at those yet, but the fact that like it's really good for stealth, since
Yeah.
your movement is naturally silent, that can be useful in a number of ways. So I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they do though like the art for the
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the art
water,
is so cool.
the seaborn, because it's all like
Yeah.
ships.
Oh yeah. I saw the island thing and I was like, that's
That
really
looks
cool.
cool. And I almost picked that one, but I'm like, if I'm a cat, cats don't generally like being in the water and like that.
Do it,
Yeah.
Tina. Be the
Yeah.
angry water kitty cat.
Not wrong.
All right. Now, hopping back over to Zach, who is looking at the classes. There's a whole list of classes, and there's actually an interesting change in a few things. So people kind of coming in. So the Guardian is an interesting class. It's more of a kind of like a defender. Like you focus on defense. It's more or less tanking and then attacking enemies who hurt your friends. The Seraph is they obviously are moving away from the cleric concept, but it's very much like the winged sentinel
The holy warrior, effectively.
Like a holy.
Yeah.
This is a mix between your cleric and your paladin, effectively.
Yeah, holy warrior. And then warrior is your standard warrior. Like you fight, or
You just fight.
you fight.
Or you fight
You're
some more.
Really,
Yeah.
You're really good at fight.
When you choose your class, you actually choose your subclass off the bat. So it's not like you have to wait to specific levels to get that, coming from other games.
Yeah.
You automatically have that option of like, oh, I get this. So I'm like if you're looking, I'm staring at Zach's screen. So he's looking at the sorcerer right now. So you could,
I've been quickly flip-flopping around
Yeah.
every class.
So at the moment, each class has 2 domains. Like I said, this is playtest, so this may alter in the future, but at the moment everything has 2, so you'd pick one of the 2 subclasses when you pick your
What are
class.
those domains? Because it's not really knowing what that is or what that's for, kind of.
We're gonna get to that after he picks his subclass. We're gonna get to domains.
So
Um,
quickly to explain to you, Tina, domains are additional cards, and they're more like feats.
Okay.
/ spells.
Class abilities or spells that your class can do. But they are based off of parts
Your
of
class.
subclass. Yeah.
No, not your your class.
Sorry, your class. Yeah.
Each class has 2 domains, and it generally shares one domain with all the classes eventually share one domain with at least one other class.
Mhm.
So there is some crossover.
Bard.
No. Sarah,
No.
Choose a subclass.
Warrior.
Go wordsmith. Not troubadour. Although I like the stuff of troubadour.
What is your question? You seem like you have a question.
Okay, yes. So a lot of the times when you play games like this, they tell you like a key stat for your
okay.
class. So it's
So
like
what are you-
something that a lot of your stuff goes off of.
Yes. So I was a bit
I-
confused also.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
for the PC though.
When you click on Bard, right?
Okay.
And you hit select class, so you're going to select it.
Yes.
It's going to tell you, so it's going to say choose your subclass, right? Troubadour.
Yes.
If you
Uh-huh.
click Troubadour, it pulls it down and it says spell casting on the card. It says spell casting presence. So
Oh, okay.
your
Gotcha.
what you're casting off of is your presence or
Gotcha.
what that use. And wordsmith is also using presence. Certain ones will change the what it might
just-
use.
You know what? I'm just gonna use the suggested traits. That makes sense.
So if we hop over to Tina's, right? So Tina's looking at hers. She's got the druid. She chose the class, and then she chose warden of elements.
Now it's interesting since they give you the 2 options. It kind of depends on how you want to. Like you can already start to see how the character forms because the
Yeah.
Warden of Renewal that's more healing based,
Mm-hmm.
and then Warden of the Elements it's more like options to be more combat oriented. But then it also
Yeah.
still gives you like there's armor depending on which element you want to be, or there's evasion or damage. So again, it's giving you the option to choose and kind of fine tune your character as you go without it being overwhelming.
Exactly. And both of them run off of instinct. So that's optionally you want that to be your highest score. So when you are selecting your traits, it will. So on Demiplane, it auto gives you suggested traits. But if you're doing this paper and pen, the way it works is you have 6 stats. So you have agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge. So strength is obviously, pick things up, put things down. Instinct is more, me and Steve were joking, it's perception, sense, navigate. Presence is, your natural presence. Knowledge is intelligence, knowing stuff. Finesse, they split dex into agility and finesse. Agility is like just moving your body, like acrobatics, and finesse is fine motor skills. So they've kind of split it down that way.
So that could be like lock picking, or
Yeah, exactly.
and it's a bit more detailed.
Yeah, so you could do finesse, but you could also dump agility because they don't play off of each other.
So you really could be a clumsy rogue. Like you're really shit at stealth, but you're really good at like stealing shit.
Exactly. Which is
You're just really loud about it.
You're just real. This is mine, guys. Just take it.
I found it.
Yeah.
I do have to say, there are plenty of weapons in
Yes.
this game that are pretty fucking cool.
So
Effectively, so Tina, do me a favor and scroll back down to where your stats were. Just to give your in the suggested traits. Effectively, you get a +2, 2 +1s, 2 +0s, and a -1.
exactly.
So obviously, in this case, we're using the suggested traits, but you can effectively shuffle that around and put them where you want. And that's there's no rolling for stats here. It's almost like in the way like Pathfinder, where you just get set modifiers, you put them into place.
So we have our cat druid and our robot bard. All right. So they've chosen their stats, and the stats, I guess, are the easiest part to, obviously on this, you could be like, oh, I'm doing whatever, I'm going to
You
make
can use recommended, or you can customize it.
Everyone gets 2 weapons.
2 weapons, cool. Yeah, it says that on the side. I completely missed that. So,
Character creation, you get 2 weapons. Some of them run off of magic.
Yeah, so effectively you're both playing a spellcasting class, so you can use the magic weapons. So, and just to give you guys, for instance, magic weapons is not what you think it is. Magic weapon is like, a magic weapon could be a wand that you shoot magic out of instead of a +1 sword.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between mundane weapons and magic weapons. A fighter can pick up a magic weapon and it will not function because it does not have a spellcasting ability. Warrior,
Yeah.
excuse me, warrior, not fighter.
But also some of the help me understand this. So next to some of the weapons, it says a stat, melee or far or whatever, and then the D8, and it'll say physical or magic, and then the one-handed. Is the stat next to it the stat you roll in order to use this weapon?
To hit.
So if it says agility melee, that's what the stat you would be using.
So you would roll agility.
You would add your agility to your 2d12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's to hit, not for damage. Your damage is set by the weapon, and your proficiency, we're gonna get that later.
So if it says so for Tina, if you're looking at the dual staff, that says it's a tier 0 magical weapon. It says instinct. So you roll your instinct, and since you're a druid, instinct makes the most. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
it's if you're min-maxing, that would be something you would look at, right? Like that'd be like, oh.
Yet again, using your +1 may not be a bad idea wherever your +1 may be. It's not necessarily you have to use the best stat, but
yeah.
But if you were doing that, that would be the best stat.
Yeah, I do like that on what are we in Demiplane? It does give you like suggested.
yeah.
So like for a bard, it says rapier and dagger, which if you like think about all bards and most like
No, clearly
role-playing
the right
games.
answer is scepter, since you're a
I
highborn. sir.
literally was looking at that
It's
just a second
presence.
ago.
It's presence. So you
I
just
know.
run around with your scepter. You're like, oh, my loyal subjects. Oh,
Bang.
bomb.
Yeah, the whole thing is I'm not sure if I want to do a primary and a secondary.
Now I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this, but I don't think you're stuck to. I think you have to use the stat that it tells you to. So
Yeah.
if
Yes.
it's like,
And we have not looked at the cards. Now, there may be some cards that allow you to bend or break some of these rules, but we're going on in the order. We haven't picked the cards for these characters yet. So even if there are those cards, we're not looking at them just yet. You start with 2, but I think you can get more as you
You go.
Yeah.
progress. And there's also better versions because obviously there's tiers of weapons. Obviously they're first level characters, so they get the tier, the crappy tier of items, and then eventually as they level up, they get the better tier of items.
All right, so I did go with the rapier and the scepter. So 2 main weapons, because the scepter actually has versatile, which allows you to use it melee or ranged.
There you go.
I did the dual staff and the short bow because I
Awesome.
may want to do some range stuff
Yeah.
because I'm a little squishy.
So after that, we're going to head down a little bit, and then you're going to be into a different section after kind of choosing everything.
Starting inventory.
Yes. So
They have
you're
armor.
yeah. So you
Oh,
get
armor.
your
Excuse me.
starting armor, and they have a suggested one. I think the breastplate is the best one that I've looked at, but
Yeah, I see. My issue is I don't know what a lot of these stats mean or do. So, like picking something is difficult.
so your evasion is your AC. So when it says +1, I was looking at something else. When it says leather armor and it says feature light and it says +1 to your evasion, it will increase by wearing that. Your evasion will increase +1, making it harder for the enemies to hit you. Now the base score is 3, meaning every time you get hit, your armor soaks an X amount. So
Gotcha.
light armor soaks 3.
Yeah, so I feel like, okay, so just looking between the leather armor and the breastplate armor, which
Mhm.
leather armor also has that feature of its light and it gives +1 to evasion.
Yeah.
I feel like that +1 to evasion isn't really enough of a difference between a soak of 2 more, because the
Yeah.
breastplate soaks
So-
5 instead of 3.
How now? Jared can correct me if I'm wrong on this. So the way damage works, we actually didn't go over this with the actual class, but each class has a damage threshold. So damage works a little differently in this game than it works in other games. So characters don't. Characters technically have a raw set of hit points. Every character has 6 hit points. They start with 6 hit points. When you run out of 6 hit points, you say that's not a lot. You run out of 6 hit points, you start dying. So every character, every class. So we were talking about the bard, so we're going to go back to the bard. I'm going to actually switch back to the main screen here. The bard has a starting evasion score of 9. So the DM rolling for the monster has to roll above a 9 or 9 or above to hit the bard. So, the bard got hit. Well, how much damage does the bard take? He only has 6 hit points. The monster will roll whatever damage it has. And there's 3 thresholds: minor threshold, major, and severe. Every character has a minor, with major, and a severe threshold. This is the amount of damage that you have to take that level damage. So effectively, the weapon damage is indicating what type of wound you just received. So it's kind of like a 2-step process for taking damage. So if he took 5 points of damage, that would be between minor and major. So you would take a minor wound, but then you're wearing breastplate. You take a 5 minus 5 is a 0. You didn't take anything.
Yeah. So personally,
That's how it works. It reduces it before you take the wound.
Gotcha. Yeah, I took the breastplate armor because, just like you said, I don't have many hit points, and at 9, a 10 is not really gonna make it much different. At least
It's
the
up
way
to
I
you.
roll. So I'm taking the less damage.
The idea, one soaks more once you're hit, and the +1 evasion makes it so you get hit less. That's the difference.
Like for Tina, her starting evasion is an 8, and her minor, major, and severe thresholds are a little different compared to yours, Zach. Tina's thresholds are actually 1 point higher off of yours. So her minor is 4, her major is 9, and her severe is 14. So she might be a little easier to hit, but
She's harder to injure.
she's more durable as a cat person. So for Tina, she might say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to take the light armor, get my evasion up to a 9, and just kind of hope I soak a lot more damage off the bat. Like, you know, oh, you did 5 points, I soaked 3, I'm in that 2 range. Okay, I take 1 point of damage off that 6.
You take 1 point of stress, actually.
Stress. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take 4 points, so in Tina's case, if she took 4 points of damage, all the way up to 8 points of damage, she would take a minor wound, which is 1 hit point. Now, not between 9 and 13, that's a major, that's 2 hit points, and a severe is 3 hit points. There's no upper limit to that. So if you get hit for, Jared and I were talking about this during the video, if you get hit for 100 points of damage, you don't keep rolling it over. It's just the severe wound, which is 3.
Like I could be like, oh, the dragon hits Tina for 100 billion damage, and Tina's like, all right, 3 hit points.
Yeah, but 3 hit points from 6, it's half your health pool.
Yeah.
So it's not a small hit. Yeah. Anytime you take less than your minor threshold, but greater than 0, you take a point of stress, which is a whole separate track. Kind of, there are some abilities that use up stress to do stuff. And some ways you gain stress, sometimes ways you could lose stress. It's just like another mechanic in the game that's beyond hit points.
Yes, so I actually saw, I moved on to starting inventory, and one of the things it says is a health potion or stamina potion. But as a bard, in the subclass I chose, I actually heal back for the party stress, I believe.
If you have an ability, I think you can do that. Yes.
Yes. Rousing speech once per long rest. You give a heartfelt, inspiring speech. All allies that can hear you clear stress.
Take the bag of rocks and bones, Tina.
I know. I'm loving my options here. Yeah, it's for the druid. It's a small bag of rocks and bones, or a strange pendant found in the dirt.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah, so these are like your
trinkets.
Yeah, it's kind of like your role play item.
Mm-hmm.
I do like role play items. Who knows?
Yeah. And then the last thing, so everyone kind of gets, I don't know if this is going to change, but everyone gets a torch, some rope, and then you could choose either a stamina or a health potion, and you could either choose some kind of trinket. Obviously, you could change it. Then you move on. So once you fill up your inventory, then you move on to your domain deck, and everyone chooses 2. So you choose 2 cards, and these are like features. This is the domain that we talked about. So for Tina being the druid, you get Sage and Arcana, and Zach, since you're the bard, you're choosing from the domains of Grace and Codex. So it just so happened that you guys didn't choose any overlap in this one.
Now you can pick 2 from one domain. You don't have to pick 1 of each. You can also pick 2 from one, and eventually you're going to add more cards to your active amount of cards that you have for your character, and that's at higher levels. Just worry about that later. You basically get to pick 2 cards now.
Yeah. But I love the artwork that they did for the druid. If you're looking over at the druid artwork,
it's so good.
Yeah, I hope they keep a lot of this artwork and they just expand on it, because they said that obviously none of the artwork is set.
Yeah. Oh, Tina, you can finally talk to plants. I think that nature's
right?
Yes, you have the choice. You have the choice of animals or plants.
That's
finally.
That's Keiko's long arc, okay? When we go and play the new AP and we get these guys up to level 20, that'll be like my last spell that I do.
That's it.
Well, also there's a thing called Unleash Chaos.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Love it.
Do it.
I am kind of annoyed. So, do these level up, these deck cards?
You get more, and there are ones that are based on levels, so there are higher level cards.
Okay, thank you. Because like I'm looking at like inspirational words. It says level 1. You can imbue your speech with enhancing power. You can mark an A stress when you recite your words and choose an option from the list below to grant an ally who hears it. And the options are clear A stress.
Mm-hmm.
Heal.
Your stress never gets any larger.
Or gain a hope.
Yeah.
And I just a single hit point
is big. It's a 6th, right? If no one increases their hit points, that's a 6th of your health.
Yeah.
Remember, you can.
Yeah. if no one finds the link heart, and then it gets the overlapping heart, they would need that. So like a lot of the numbers I've noticed are small, and then when you're coming from something like 5th edition or Pathfinder, and you're used to like large numbers, like 30 hit points, or you heal 66 hit points or whatever, you're like, oh man,
8d6 plus 8 or whatever. Yeah.
And then in here you're like, oh, I heal 1 hit point or 1 stress. By the way, stress doesn't get larger, but like 1 hit point is a lot, especially for like if you're playing the Guardian, right? Or if you're playing like in Tina's case, if she decided to be a tanky druidess or druid, that 1 hit point would mean a lot for her.
I'm looking at this now, and I'm trying to see how high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you can get all the way up to 11 or 12 hit points if you directly focus on it. And your stress pool can get larger. There's a little dotted lines. I think I'm looking at the character sheet now for bards. There is 4 spots for increase for stress,
but it doesn't get as large. Yeah,
correct. So there are ways to expand, but you're not getting like Jared said, you're not getting like, oh, I'm a champion, I have 100 and something hit points. No. You like a max is like 11 or 12, and that's at max level.
So that dragon that hit you for 40 billion and did 3 points of damage to you, you're still like, wow, that hurt a lot. A lot more than I thought. I could take 3 of those. So I don't think it negates the gravitas of the damage that's being dealt by having that like that threshold feature. I just think players need to like realign their thought pattern on the numbers.
Smaller numbers. Yeah. Effectively, this uses, if you actually think about it, if you ever use the system that or you've seen D&D videos talk about, instead of actually tracking actual hit points from a monster that has like 50, 60, 100 hit points, you talked about using the hit system, like, oh, you did 10 damage, that's 1 hit. That's effectively what the system is doing, is it's correlating damage down to how many hits did you take. And you get like 6 hits.
So I think Tina made her selections. And Tina, what are your domain deck cards that you've chosen for us?
Well, Unleash Chaos.
Of course.
Of course, we have to.
What does it do?
And then Gifted Tracker. So Unleash Chaos. Hold on, let me go to it. You place a number of tokens equal to your spellcast trait on the card. You make spellcast roll against any target within far range and spend any number of tokens to channel raw energy from within yourself. On a success roll, a number of d10 equal to the tokens you spent. So it's like a damage.
That's
cool.
That is chaos.
Yeah,
a little bit of chaos.
Yeah. And what is the other one you chose? The tracker?
Gifted Tracker. So that's make a spellcast roll to track or ask the GM one question. You'd be able to learn about a specific creature or group of creatures based on signs of their passage.
Oh,
so it's kind of like the Survivor skill feat in Pathfinder.
And did you pick 1 Sage and 1 Arcana?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Tracker is Sage and the Chaos is Arcana.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Zach, what 2 domain cards did you choose?
So I have the option between Codex and Grace. I chose one of each. For my Codex, I chose Book of Iliad, which gave me, it's a grimoire that gives me 3 spells. The spells are Slumber, Arcane Barrage, and Telepathy. Unfortunately, it does cost 2 stress.
Wait, we'll talk about that in a second. That's not what that means.
That's not okay.
No.
Cool. Then I could care less. I have cool spells.
You will care, but
yeah. Well, fine.
Not now.
So Slumber, it's like casting sleep in any other spell, in any other game. Arcane Barrage is kind of like a magic missiles kind of a spell. So, and then Telepathy is like your message cantrip. So I thought that was very basic and it worked. I originally wanted to take Death Deceiver, but instead I took Inspirational Words, which was again that clear a stress, heal a hit point, gain a hope. Because as Steve kind of explained, a single hit point is pretty important.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how +1s are in Pathfinder. They're kind of more important than people believe.
Yeah.
Now, I will say what I like about this is Zach's book on the Arcane Barrage. It's similar to like Tina's, where they could spend stuff to do more damage. Arcane Barrage, it literally says spend any number of hope to shoot project. So he could spend 1 or 6. Hope is generated through when you roll. Sometimes you'll roll with hope, and you'll be able, and then you generate hope and stuff like that.
If you're spending hope, your max is 5.
Yeah, sorry, 5. There's a lot of ways to generate hope and fear in this game, so that's interesting that they play with hope. I saw something on Tina's card that had something similar with hope.
So if someone can pull up just a card, we're just gonna go over the kind of like, there we go, we'll use that one. I'm just gonna go over the identity of this card because I know we glossed it over in the first video. So the upper left number is just the level of the card. So obviously, for your first level, you get to pick 1s, and then as you get higher level, you get to pick higher level cards. The symbol kind of determines what kind of a card. There's the ability / spell cards. There's grimoires. There's other kind of cards. That's just a little symbol. Obviously, the center name says in the what is that? Inspirational Words. It says it's a spell, so that has connotations for certain classes. It has the text of what it does, and then as Zach mentioned, on the upper right hand corner there's a circle with a number. That actually doesn't come into play until around 5th level. Effectively, if you ever played EverQuest, you're only allowed to take so many cards with you, and you'll have a loadout of cards. If you have a loadout of cards, you can use those cards whenever it tells you can use them. If you need a card that is in your basically your graveyard, or what it's called, your vault, I believe it's called, during a short and long rest, you can freely swap cards. It doesn't cost you anything. If you go, oh man, I stowed Death Deceiver because I didn't think I needed it, and I need to swap to it. Death Deceiver is a bad example, but you have to spend that in stress to swap to it. And you take a card that's currently in your active, you put it in your vault, you take that card out of your vault, put it in active. So that card I had 2, that does matter, because if it's in your vault and you need that card, you have to spend 2 stress to pop it out if you need to do it right now. That's what that number is. So it's important, but it's not important now. It's important really when you get to basically 5th level.
5th level, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. All right.
So it's an interesting thing, and it's an important thing to know, but early levels you don't really have to care about it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And last but not least is your experiences, and this is so there's a few things. Choosing your description, it gives you options. Answering background questions, again, this is more of a information stuff for your character. Yeah, like fill in the blanks and stuff like that. The last thing on that, but is the experiences, and this one's a little hard. I find this one's a bit difficult to understand. Everyone's given 2 experiences, right? So you have to generate experience. One, you'll have a +2, and the other one you'll have a +1 modifier. And so the ruling is you can't say if let's say Tina is playing a druid, right? And she's like, oh, I really want to be good with lockpicks. She can't say, in her experience, lockpick, right? Or something like that. It can't be directly focused on a specific skill. So you might want to consider, instead of lockpicking, tinkerer, or what you call it, a toy maker. And then then you could look at me if I'm GMing for you, and you could be like, well, Jared, I am a toy maker and I do, or a clock maker, right? Like a watch, tinkerer. Well, I do use a lot of small bits, so could I use this experience with picking a lock? And I
like
could
a background to justify why you have that skill.
Exactly. You could be a key maker, and then you could be like, oh, I'm a key maker. Now I have that.
So they give you some examples, but there is no set list. Let me swap to this. So actually, I'm reading the actual list of choosing your experiences. There's no set list of experiences to choose from, though there are examples of it below. Instead, you choose a word or phrase that embodies something distinctive about your character, and then you basically can try to like leverage that at some point, saying, well, because I have this experience of my character, effectively what I did before I became an adventurer, could I leverage that in this role and get that bonus?
Yeah. So that's kind of it. And then you create connections. And this one you want to sit down with your other players or maybe your GMs and talk together and create connections. And you build, and you can get rid of connections and move connections and change connections as you play through the game. That, and then you'll see your hit points, you'll see your stress, your major and minor wounds, your armor, your evasion number, and where it says armor slots, again, remember every time you soak, you use up an armor slot, but during downtime, you're able to kind of fix that.
And you eventually can unlock more armor slots with certain level ups and other things.
And then they have like, what you're using, your equipment, your details, your feedback. Feedback is actually for the game. Your character journal. So all in all, I would love to hear what everyone's thoughts on everything is. So why don't we start with Zach? Zach, what are your thoughts on character creation? Thoughts on, is this easy? Is this something you can do? Is this something you could do on the fly if you weren't really like, if we were going to pick this up for a one shot and I was like, all right, everyone make characters, make characters, don't worry about like getting too deep, even though this game is kind of deep.
So I think this character creation moment that we just had was extremely informative and easy to do, only because we had the Demiplane app to kind of walk us through it, explain some things, and also we had the voice of God, Steve, who already read up on all the rules. So he was able to kind of fill in the gaps that the Demiplane system here didn't have the answers for, or wasn't telling us at the time when things were popping up. So in that case, again, easy, but only because we're using this. I would say it would be a lot tougher, personally, if we were just doing like pen and paper character creation for this. And I kind of have that same feeling with regular like D&D 5th edition. I find it to be incredibly difficult to make a character from scratch in 5e, just like on paper. If I'm using D&D Beyond, I can make one in 2 seconds, and I like what I got because it also lists everything that's available to me easily, and I can find everything.
And Tina, thoughts?
Sure. I kind of agree with Zach with the having an online system to create your character, but also if you're beta testing and you're getting information, having everything online kind of makes it easier to track. So in terms of collecting data and a research, market research standpoint, I get that. It does make it easier to kind of learn the system, but having like you and Steve going over kind of how the game works makes choosing each element a little bit easier to understand, as opposed to like, oh, that sounds cool, but like in actuality, what are you doing with, arcane, with sage? Like, how does that work in the game? So getting a little bit more background about how the system works before just diving into character creation, like having a session 0, like you would for any other game, I think definitely helps. I think it also is a great way to create a session 0. Having that connection section kind of encourages conversation among your team. So I like that that's included. And just looking over, because I've played the Druid now in like 3 different systems. So I do appreciate that this is like more thematic and less mechanical. And then I was going over, I didn't see this ability before, but when I went to my character sheet, you can choose a beast form. And they categorize it based on like animals that are scouts, or animals that are aquatic, or animals that are agile, or animals that rely more on strength. And you can kind of pick a category of like beast form based on what they do, rather than like with Pathfinder and D&D, you start with like the smaller creatures and you work your way up to the bigger creatures. This kind of categorized, these are like the strength-based characters, these are the agility animals. So I kind of like how that's a little different. And yeah, it's not a lot all at once, but if you're somebody who kind of wants to know what the long game is, then kind of being able to see what you can do at each level can be helpful. So it kind of depends on how you typically create a character. But from a complete newbie standpoint, not really knowing the system and had not played this yet, this is pretty easy to put together. It's just learning now how do we use this now.
I will kind of interject here. We specifically did this to where they didn't look at almost any of the information. But one of the key points that they included, now this is something that I didn't make up, Jared didn't make this up, that was included in the playtest, and I'm pretty sure this is how they're going to go forward and how they're going to build their classes. Each character, there's not a Daggerheart character sheet. There is a Bard Daggerheart character sheet, a Druid Daggerheart character sheet. There's a character sheet specific to each class that more is tailored to what that class gets as options. And the card, yet again, also because they don't have physical cards, the cards are attached to the character sheet. So you can look at the cards, you can look at the ancestries. Every ancestry is on every character sheet. Every community is on the character sheets, so you can literally load the character sheet. And I think the Druid one even comes with the animal companion or the animal form part on that character sheet, so it's clearly labeled even on the character sheet. So you effectively print your character sheet out, and if you wanted to do it by paper, obviously Demiplane does a lot of the math for you and does a lot of the rules, like the +1s and the -1s and all that stuff for you. But the character sheet, the customized character sheets, really do help if you're pulling it straight from the character sheet.
Yeah, I like that it's customized. We kind of touched on this when we went over the Beetle and Grimm books too. It's really nice to just have, I don't need all this extra stuff that my character's not going to use. This is just what I need to focus on, and I can have the important things that I'm going to be using every single session readily available to me, especially as you're learning a new system or a new class. So I like that.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing from everyone is it's easy because we have it online, and you have people kind of explaining things to you. Yeah. So obviously, we haven't gotten into the playing the game. That'll be a whole different thing. We'll sit down, we'll play. Because I do want to play this. I'm very intrigued in a lot of the mechanical stuff on the GM perspective. But the big takeaway that I'm hearing is Darrington Press should hire me and Steve to be like Clippy, to just pop up and help people. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
How many people will honestly, if my face comes and goes, "Hey, you can't do that"?
Yeah, I would love that. Actually,
You didn't say the magic word.
Actually, it works like this.
Actually, let me explain to you why you're wrong.
We'll have the Jared emoji of just poo, 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 poo. Hey, you can't do that.
That's every time you level up.
So I'm excited to actually, having sat down with you guys. I appreciate both of you, everyone here, hanging out. I want to say I'm very excited to play this. We're going to be, they gave us, and what's really cool is, and this is the craziest part about this playtest, not hyping it up, obviously, I have my concerns, but they gave you a whole one-shot, and it comes with the playtest. So I don't even have to make anything up. We could just sit down and play. It has monsters and everything. It's really cool. So we'll get to the playtest and we'll play, and then we'll all sit down and like argue about whether or not the game is fun and you know, rulings that went wrong. I want to say thank you very much to Tina and Zach. Of course, thank you, Steve, for hanging out and doing all the technical wizardry as you do. And obviously, I have to do this spiel because the YouTube algorithm will come and kill me. Please like and subscribe if you can. It's a small thing for you, but a big thing for us because we're a tiny channel and we want to be really big so that me and Steve could become Clippy on Daggerheart. But with that being said, we are Nothing Venture, Nothing Game. We love rolling dice, giving advice with a little bit of that New York spice. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Later.